Hitler was the prophet and messenger of Nazism, a religion he conceived to serve his interests. As you read these words, think of Muhammad. Mein Kampf 481. An ingenious idea originates in the brains of a man who feels himself called upon to transmit his knowledge to the rest of mankind. He now preaches his views, and gradually he gains a certain circle of followers. The direct and personal transmittal of the ideas of a man to the rest of the world is the most ideal thing for the new doctrine. The community grows and the doctrine retains its uniformity when the authority of the spiritual founder is recognized. This mirrors Islam's beginnings. It is exactly what we have been reading. Hitler's quote regarding the importance of having a Qibla like the Kaaba is so similar to Islam, he actually refers to Mecca. Mein Kampf 481. The geopolitical importance of a center of a movement cannot be overrated. Only the presence of such a center and place, bathed in the magic of a Mecca, can give a movement a force rooted in inter-unity. This is why Muhammad changed his Qibla to Mecca in the second surah. For the Prophet and for the Führer, victory was achieved by violently forcing their religion on others. Mein Kampf 486. The greatness of a movement is exclusively guaranteed by the unrestricted development of its inner strength to achieve final victory over all competitors. The justification for fighting to achieve complete victory is caused by absolute intolerance.
Muslim, I have been commanded to fight against all people until they testify to the fact that there is no God but Allah, and believe in me that I am the messenger, and in all that I have brought. Quran 9, verse 123. Fight the unbelievers around you, and let them find harshness in you.
Not only were Islam and Nazism founded as religions, they were both fanatical, forcing themselves upon the world. Mein Kampf 486. The greatness of every powerful organization or idea is rooted in religious fanaticism, with which it intolerably enforces itself against everything else, fanatically convinced of its own right. Listen to that again. The greatness of every powerful organization or idea is rooted in the religious fanaticism with which it intolerably enforces itself against everything else, fanatically convinced of its own right. In his final surah, Allah was as intolerant and fanatical as words allow.
Quran 5, verse 33. The punishment for those who wage war against Allah and His Prophet and make mischief in the land is to murder them, crucify them, or cut off a hand and foot on opposite sides. Their doom is dreadful. They will not escape the fire, suffering constantly.
Allah's apostle focused on a few principles and repeated them. Hitler explains why he did this. Mein Kampf 506. I carried out the proclamation of propaganda ruthlessly. Good propaganda influences the masses. It concentrates on a few points, and it is continuously repetitious, self-assured, and confident. Mein Kampf 512. I took up the word and began to interpret the program for the first time. The hall was filled with a people united by a new conviction, a new faith, and a new will. Muhammad's laundry list of requirements was shorter than Hitler's. He required submission, obedience, fighting, and money. Sounding like a commentary on Islam, the manifesto of the 20th century's most notorious terrorist says, Mein Kampf 570, one needs the great magnetic attraction which the masses follow under the forceful impression of a convincing force and unconditional beliefs, coupled with fanatical fighting courage. As one side, armed with all the weapons, sets out to storm an existing order, it will only succeed if resistance is clad in the form of a new faith, and if it exchanges weak slogans and cowardly defense for the battle cry of a courageous and brutal attack.
Ishak, men, do you know what you are pledging yourselves to in swearing allegiance to this man? Yes, in swearing allegiance to him, we are pledging ourselves to wage war against all mankind.
This, my friends, is identical to the oath all SS men swore to one Adolf Hitler. And they did what they promised to do. Hitler confirms the importance of forming a people-oriented religion. Mein Kampf 573. The word Völkisch, from the German word Volk, meaning people, was conceived to allow the formation of a close fighting community. The conception of Völkisch can be defined as unlimited in its practical application, just as the word religious. It is a very nice and cheap way to describe man as fundamentally religious. Nazism, like Islam, was founded as a religion for the purpose of controlling men, fleecing men, and motivating men to fight. Hitler recognized that religion was a tool he could use to achieve his agenda, and like Muhammad, he hammered his point home. Mein Kampf 574. A religious idea will free the individual of individual thinking and acting. Forming the new faith is not an end in itself, but a means to an end. It is an unavoidable necessity. Its purpose is not to just create an ideal, but to form an eminently practical expedient. Listen to that again. The purpose of religion is not to create an ideal, but to form an eminently practical expedient. It has always been that way. Religion is a tool, an expedient wielded ruthlessly above the masses. Religion isn't the opiate of the people, it is a lethal poison. Hitler explains why Muhammad created Islam and bribed his men to become militants. Mein Kampf 575. For the materialization of the ideals of a new view of life, and the postulates derived from them, takes place through the pure feeling in the inner will of men. These ideas can be used to form military power, and the fighting organization can inspire people to a glorious realization. Every view of life or religion, though it may be right, will remain without importance for the practical working out in detail of a nation's life, unless its principles have become the banner of a fighting movement. The dogmas now form the new basic principles of the people's community. This was the very recipe for Islam. Form a religion to create a force of men, then use that force to force the religion upon men. For Muhammad, it was the amalgamation of his political sunnah with his religious Quran that enabled him to guide inadequate men to their doom. In Hitler's words, from Mein Kampf 576, the correct spiritual conception from which the program maker has to preach must be accompanied by the practical knowledge of the politician. Thus, an idea, as the guiding star of mankind, must unfortunately resign itself into taking into consideration the weaknesses of mankind if it wants to avoid failing. Mein Kampf 577. The transformation of an ideal view of life into a tightly organized political community of believers and fighters, uniform in spirit and willpower, is the most significant achievement. Muhammad's Ummah, or political community of unified fighters, was the model for Hitler's Mein Kampf.
Quran 33, verse 60. Truly, if the hypocrites stir up sedition, if the agitators in the city do not desist, we shall urge you to go against them and set you over them. Then they will not be able to stay as your neighbor for any length of time. They shall have a curse on them. Wherever they are found, they shall be seized and slain without mercy, a fierce slaughter, murdered, a horrible murdering.